Hey everyone, Kevin here. What you're looking at here is the Raspberry Pi 3 Model B booting up. This is the computer that's powering that. It's the Raspberry Pi. Now in this video, what I'd like to do is show you how you can set it up and how you can set up your Raspberry Pi so that when you connect your Raspberry Pi to a computer, you get the Raspbian operating system. And that's what you're about to see here. Raspbian is the operating system is built specifically for Raspberry Pi, and it's built upon Debian, which is a kind of Unix Linux system. Before we go on and show you how you do that, I just want to quickly show you the operating system here. If you've used any kind of, any edition of Linux or Unix, you will feel at home. Windows users might feel a little bit more out of place, but you see here in the main menu here, you've got programming, there's Java, Mathematica, Scratch, Python. It's got LibreOffice installed here, Calc, Draw, Writer, etc. Chromium web browser, Clause Mail, Minecraft Pi, accessories, calculator, file manager, etc. Run. There's lots of other apps here at the top. There's a file manager, terminal, Mathematica, Wolfram. You've got Bluetooth and the date, etc. up here. So the question is, how do you get from this to that? How do you set it up? Well, let's see how we do that. So this is my Raspberry Pi, and this is exactly how it was set up there to power that operating system. So what I'm going to do is just kind of take things off here. I've got, if I can get it here, I've got my keyboard. I've got my USB mouse. I've got the HDMI cable. Get it out there. And I've got the power. Now, the back, I've also got the micro SD card. You will notice that the micro SD, the branding is kind of facing the bottom, which you can see easily because of it a clear case. If I take it out, now, one thing to note, when this powers on correctly, you will see a light flashing when it's powered onto the TV when it actually is booting up. So that's one thing to keep in mind. So, when you buy the Raspberry Pi, you can buy it in a number of different ways. You can buy it separately. You can buy it with a case. It was just how I bought it. Or you can buy what's called the Essentials Kit. The Essentials Kit comes with the Raspberry Pi, which is here, the Model B. It comes with the charger. It comes with a 16GB micro SD card and adapter with NOOBS. And some other kits come with, it comes with a case as well, a black or a red and white case. And sometimes comes with like an HDMI cable or an Ethernet cable as well, depending on which package you buy. Now, the key thing to note here is whether you've got NOOBS or not. NOOBS is essentially the installation wizard that you use to set up Raspbian, i.e. the operating system you just saw there. Now, when you buy the Essentials Kit, you get a 16GB micro SD card with an adapter, and it's got NOOBS installed. So, if you buy the Essentials Kit and you've got NOOBS, all you do is you take your micro SD card, you put it in, you connect everything back up, you hook it up to your, your television using HDMI or your monitor, and it will power on. That's all you have to do. Very, very simple when you go through the installation process. And the installation process is very simple. But before we do that, I just want to explain how you set up NOOBS if you don't actually have that. And what you have to do is download the files yourself and put it onto this SD card. It's a little bit different if you've got an SD card which is higher than 32GB. This one is 64GB, so I need to set it up a little bit differently. The reason being, 32GB and less is normally set up using FAT32, and that file system is what you need for Raspberry Pi. If you put this, because this is 64GB, if I put this into my Windows computer, it only allows me to format it using NTFS or exFAT, which it won't work. Raspberry Pi, the Raspbian, won't work if you use that file system. And I'm talking through experience. When I formatted this, and because I was using exFAT, it didn't work at all, didn't boot, nothing happened. And the key thing was that it wasn't formatted using FAT32. So let's jump over to my browser and we'll show you how you set this up. So I'm now over at my browser. I'm on raspberrypi.org, which is the official Raspberry Pi website. In this guide, Getting Started with Noobs, it does give you a really good explanation as to what you need to do. Essentially what you need to do is format your SD card, download the Noobs files, extract those files onto the formatted card. That's all there is to it. There are a few problems that can arise though if you use a different SD card. We'll talk about that in a second. Now, when you go to the other downloads page, you will see Noobs and you'll see Raspbian. You can choose either method, but my recommendation is to choose Noobs. Noobs is essentially an installation wizard that allows you to install Raspbian easily. If you choose to install Raspbian directly or any one of the many images that are available, you need to be more of a technical user. So I would say for most people, choose Noobs. When you choose Noobs, you've got two different options. You've got Noobs and Noobs Lite. And you can see here from the explanation, one is network install only, as in you need to download the files through Wi-Fi when you install it onto the Raspberry Pi. The other one is offline and network install. Now the one I chose was offline and network install. And if I get here, my desktop, see here, the file was 1.46 gigabytes. So it's quite a big size. Now if you want a smaller size to put on your micro SD card, choose the lighter version. Essentially, you're doing the same thing. You're going to either download it through your computer or download it through the Raspberry Pi during the installation process. You can download the files using torrent or through zip. And when you download the file, you'll get a zip file if you do it this method. And what you do is you can extract all the files. You can see I've did it already, but that's all you have to do. You can see extract all. If I had to change the folder name, for example, just call it Noobs. There we go. All you're doing is extracting the files out of the zip file and putting it into its own folder. Now, what we need to do next is set up the SD card. We need to format the SD card. What they recommend doing is, instead of using Windows, they recommend you doing the SD formatter. Now, you can format any drive. So like there's a drive there, go to format, and you can format it using Windows in that way. Many people have said that this works fine, but they do still recommend that they use this SD formatter. You click on it here. It's from the SD Association, SD Memory Card Formatter 5.0. You can download it on Windows or in Mac. So all we're trying to do here is format your file in the most efficient way, in the safest way. This application helps you do that. But again, this is only for micro SD cards up to and including 32 gigabytes. Now you can do it using quick format or overwrite if you've had files before. Overwrite takes a long time. Quick format I would do first, and then if there's any problems, go back and use overwrite format. So all you do is you select it and then you format it. Now that's what most people will do. You can see here, if I go back here, my memory card here is 64 gigabytes. So I need to set it up on FAT32. And there's a really good explanation about this on their website. And they break it down and explain that as they only allow partitions up to 32 gigabytes, it needs to be formatted as FAT32, blah, blah, blah. And explains why they need it as FAT32. The problem is that when you format it, so if I had to format this one here, 64 gig card, I would be able to do it in NTFS or exFAT. exFAT is the default. That's the problem. There's only two different options, and neither of those options work with Raspberry Pi. So we need to format it in FAT32. There's a range of tools that help you do that. They recommend a few: Minitool, EaseUS Partition. I tried those. I didn't think they worked well. The best one is the one that they recommend here, which is FAT32 format. And you can see it here. If you click on that image, it will bring up the installation file. You can see that I've installed it already. And if you go to the bottom of the page, there is a x64 version. There's another option called FAT32 formatter. It didn't work for me, so I don't recommend that one. So if we go back here to my desktop, you'll see I've got a good format. So this is where it comes up. You can change the allocation unit size, and all I do is I push start. All the data will be lost, and I'm getting an error. Now, I got this error earlier on as well. there was a problem with it and it wasn't formatting correctly. So it's actually quite good that it's coming up because it can show you what went wrong. So it's not working, it's not formatting my micro SD card in FAT32. So what I need to do is here, if I delete the volume, and if you've got any other problems here, if you've got lots of petitions or boot drives or anything else here, delete everything, create a new simple volume, assign it a letter, it doesn't really matter what you pick here, really, because you're going to be changing it. So we've now got a new F drive from that. Go back to GUI format, and we should now be able to do it. There you go. So if you've got any problems formatting any 64 gigabyte card or higher using FAT32 format application, this one here, go to manage, and you can find that in a number of ways. You can type in manage in your search bar. Alternatively, if you're on your desktop, you should be able to see it here. Right click and go to manage, and it brings it up. There we go. Go down to disk management. That's where you'll find it. So now that I've got a 64 gigabyte card, I've got it formatted in FAT32, or if you've got a smaller SD card, 8 gig, 16 gig, 32, it's on FAT32. We're good to put the files in now. So I've got it there, and I'm also extracting them to this folder here. Now make sure you don't copy over the folder. You don't want to drag this over like that. What you want to do is drag all the files over instead. So I'm going to just put them over to removable disk. And that's it. Once those files are copied over, I can put it into my Raspberry Pi. That's all there is to it. So everything I did in the browser was to put the correct files into my micro SD card so that I could take it out and put it into my Raspberry Pi. So all we have to do now is connect everything up. I'll put in my keyboard. I'll put in my mouse. And I'll put in my HDMI cable. Switch my television on, and the last thing we need to do, put the power in. So you can see the lights flashing there, the green light indicating that it has been reading the micro SD card. And if I bring the camera up now, we'll start to see what you see when you first load up the Raspberry Pi. So there we go. Now you can see it's initializing just now, and it's asking you what you want to do. You can connect to your Wi-Fi network. Now if you had set it up so that you only installed NOOBS Lite, this is where you would put in your Wi-Fi network and it could download those files directly to the card. You've got two options here. You've got Raspbian and you've got Libre ELC, which is a user-friendly Kodi version. So if you plan on using it for a media center, if you're going to be using your Raspberry Pi here to put on Kodi and play movies and things like that, you'd want to choose that. But if you want Raspbian, click Raspbian, and all you have to do now is click install. Click the install button, click yes, and it starts installing. This process takes probably 10 minutes or so, maybe more. Really does depend on a few other factors, but everything is in the file because I downloaded the NOOBS version that has the offline files. I don't need to download anything from the internet. You can see at the bottom there as well that had an option for language, English, and the keyboard as well. It's defaulted to the correct version for me. And it will show you lots of information screens here. At the end, it just boots up to that operating system that you saw at the start of this video. So NOOBS is installing Raspbian onto my Raspberry Pi here. You can see the green light is flashing, indicating that the memory card is being read. Very, very easy to use this. I was very impressed with the Raspberry Pi website. There's a lot of great information there, lots of documentation. There's a community of people helping each other out as well. But I hope that this video has helped out some of you guys. I know there's a lot of guides out there already, but I did want to give my point of view on it, give my explanation on it, and at the very least, I hope I've helped people who are using a 64 gigabyte card or higher, because this is something that affects me because I've ordered 128 gigabytes. And it's not something that I saw right away when I started going through the installation process. If you guys have any questions, please do ask them below. I'm not claiming to be an expert on any of this, but as always, I will do my best to help you out, or at least point you in the right direction. Thanks for watching, guys. I hope you found it useful, and until next time, take care.